high level cheese categories of cheese. And I want to share this with you and bring this up because it helps to be sure. One of the key elements when you're building a good cheese plate, cheese board, is a variety of textures in your cheeses. You want to be sure that you don't have all soft, creamy cheeses or all strong, pungent cheeses or too many cheddar-like cheeses. You want to have good balance and good variety just so that your palate has different places to go, really. So high level, we'll start with cheeses that are not aged, very fresh cheeses, very moist cheeses, and those would be things like fresh mozzarella, fresh ricotta cheese. Those would be the two primary examples. But again, they're not aged in any way, and they're very, very moist. Definitely have a place on a cheese plate if you're, maybe doing something around in the summer like a caprese themed. Tomato, fresh tomato, and mozzarella are a classic combination. That would be a great time to have different fresh mozzarellas on a cheese board. Next category would be semi-soft cheeses. So getting into a little bit of aging, not quite as moist as a fresh cheese, but still very creamy. So that would be things like brie, most common example. Boursin is another example. That's the fresh, or not fresh, but the whipped sort of cream cheese like cheese that has fresh herbs in it. It comes wrapped in that foil in a box. If you're not familiar with it, you might spot it at the store the next time you're there. But things that are very easily spreadable. I always have a creamy cheese on the cheese board, typically a brie, and I'll talk to you in a second about some of my favorites as we get into the building. But it's just a nice place to start, and usually folks have, really love a good creamy cheese. I see some things happening at the bottom there. Are there questions?
Yes. Charlotte asks, what about goat cheese?
Goat cheese, yes. Now there are different types and styles of goat cheese. So if you are thinking of sort of the more familiar creamy log of goat cheese, and especially this time of year, you'll see lots of them maybe rolled in a spiced cranberry or something very fall and festive. You definitely can have that on your cheese board. Depending on the size of your board, if you have something larger, you can keep that whole and maybe start out slicing it and then leaving the rest for people to slice as you get to that point. Or if you're doing something a little bit smaller, like I have a 12-inch round plate tonight, or if you're even doing something smaller on a personal board, you can just cut a few slices of that and arrange that on your plate, for yourself, and another person. It just really kind of depending on how many you're serving would be how much you would put on the plate at the time. Next would be the semi-firm category of cheese. So now, again, as we're making our way up, things are getting drier, a little bit more intensely flavored, a little bit more aged. So the semi-firm category of cheese, I feel, is where a lot of familiar cheeses sort of land in a lot of favorites. So your cheddars, Gouda. There are firmer goat cheeses. One of my favorites is actually called Midnight Moon by Cypress Grove Creamery in California. And that, like I said, is a firmer goat cheese, and it actually has a lot of Gouda characteristics. It's a really delicious cheese. So if you've not tried something like that in a goat cheese, give that a try. It's really, really delicious, and it's not quite as it's not quite as strong as goat cheese. Sometimes that is a flavor that is really strong for some folks, and they really do not like goat cheese. But the Cypress Grove Midnight Moon is one where it has a lot of Gouda characteristics to it, so you almost might not realize that it's a goat cheese. One of my other favorite cheddars in the cheddar family is, I'll show it to you here. If you have Trader Joe's near you, if I have some Chicagoland folks on tonight, but the unexpected cheddar, and as we get into building, I'll bring you guys a little bit closer. But the unexpected cheddar at Trader Joe's is by far and away the cheese I get the most questions about when I put cheese boards together for my clients and for their guests. It is a great aged cheddar, not incredibly long aged, so the sharpness is nice. It's not too sharp. It's not one of those like extra sharp cheddar tanginess. It's just got a really nice aged quality about it. But then the thing that is unexpected about it, and why it's called unexpected cheddar, is that it has a lot of Parmigiano Reggiano qualities to it, especially in the finish. It has a little bit of that sort of crystally salty crunch that you might be familiar with if you like Parmigiano Reggiano, and it is fantastic. So I always have that stocked in my fridge. 9 times out of 10, it is on my cheese board, and it's going to be on it tonight because that's my dinner. So usually that semi-firm category of cheese where there's the cheddar, I usually sort of beef that up. I always have extra of that because that always tends to be the cheese that people really gravitate to and will eat a lot of. So know your crowd or know your small group and what they like. And so you might have to have a little extra in reserve on some of the cheeses. But that unexpected cheddar is one that is always a crowd pleaser. So if you've not tried it before, I suggest that you do. It's really fantastic. And a little tip for you there also, if you have Aldi near you, most people know that there is a connection between Aldi and Trader Joe's. And there is the Aldi version of that cheese. It's called Not Your Average Cheddar. And the description on the package of it says cheddar with Parmesan notes. And it's pretty much that unexpected cheddar. There's a slight difference, but not too much that I won't buy it at Aldi if I see it. So next category would be firm. So we're talking quite a bit aged, very dry. Classic example in this category is Parmigiano Reggiano. It's aged, I mean, there's the aging varies, but at least 2 years on the aging. So during that process, the cheese continues to dry out and lose moisture and develop very intense, delicious flavors. So something like that, really has a little bit goes a long way. I guess I'll say, because the aging really intensifies the flavors. So just, keep that in mind. And then the last category of cheese would be your pungent cheeses. So things like blue. And there's lots of different styles of blue cheese. Not all blue cheese is created equal. I know that's one of those cheeses that either you kind of love it or you kind of hate it. I'm a lover of blue cheese. I do bring it to my workshops, which some people tell me, like, isn't that risky? Not everybody loves blue cheese. But I bring it because I like to talk about ways to help make a sharp cheese like blue cheese more easy on the palate for some folks. And a lot of that happens when you incorporate really good crackers, a honey or a jam, fruits that you serve with it. So there are ways that you can tone down a sharper, more robust, pungent cheese that actually, when you kind of mix and match flavors together, things become really delicious. And people find that they actually may like blue cheese because they have a delicious cracker with it and maybe put a little bit of honey on it. And it's pretty fantastic.